for more on the hunger crisis, let's bring in Richard Landels, a director at an aid organisation, Caritas Australia. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we had the devastating famine in 2011 where more than 250,000 people died of hunger in Somalia. And the global commitment then was to never let that happen again. Is that happening again?
Unfortunately, it is happening again. Yeah, you know, the people over in Somalia and the Horn of Africa and other areas are absolutely suffering. You know, it's devastating. The catastrophe that's unfolding there is extraordinary. There's, you know, I'm here representing Caritas Australia, but I'm also representing a group of charities that have come together called the Emergency Action Alliance. And we've come together at a time of crisis because we believe it's a really much easier way for the Australian people to understand the message and to be able to give. And so the Emergency Action Alliance is a group of 15 Australian charities that have come together, and we feel as though we're a lot stronger with one voice.
Because, Richard, it's not just about the drought, is it? It's not just about food insecurity. There is, and it just impacts throughout the community.
Absolutely.
Childcare, it impacts healthcare as well.
No, absolutely. It was absolutely devastating when I arrived, and the scenes are really quite catastrophic. And there was one woman we met, a lady called Marley, and she was living down near the border of Ethiopia and South Sudan, near the Omo River area, and it is just dry. You know, it hasn't rained there for 4 years. It's the third drought in the last 10 years, but this one's the most dramatic. And she has 6 children. She has to travel 15 hours each day, or every sort of 2 or 3 days, to bring back 20 litres of water. And the water is brown. You know, it's hardly drinkable, but that's really the only option they've got.
The commitment in 2011 was to not repeat the failures that led to this famine. What would be some of those global failures and factors that are contributing to this?
Well, I think, you know, the problem is that we've got resources.
Yes.
You know, there is enough food in the world for everyone to eat, but it's obviously not getting to the people that actually need it. You know, we have food. Obviously, the Ukraine crisis has contributed to this, and also the COVID pandemic over the last few years has been a big contributor. But it's very hard, you know, they don't have a big voice, a lot of these people. And, you know, they are representative of, you know, all the people that are suffering. You know, their mothers, their daughters, their fathers, their children.
I think that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because, you know, for as long as I've been a journalist, it just seems that the continent, Africa, has always been in some sort of strife. If it's not civil war, it is drought, it is corruption. And sometimes I wonder whether it's a case of people think, well, it's over there, and that's their problem. It's not close to home. But we forget, as you say, these are mothers, these are children who don't really have much of a future.
Exactly, and you know, their ability to influence those sort of geopolitical issues is very little. And it doesn't mean we have to wait for the country to get itself in order. You know, we have the opportunity to help these people now, and there is hope. You know, there's great hope. There's things that can be done right now to alleviate these situations.
Yeah, well, what is being done when you talk about that alliance of charities that's getting together? Is that money then specifically going to Somalia, and what is being done by that alliance?
So it will go to Somalia, but it'll go to the other countries in the Horn of Africa, so Ethiopia and South Sudan. And so what will be done is there's some urgent work that'll be done. So, you know, there are people that don't have access to water and who are dying. And, you know, I mentioned Marley and her family, and, you know, it's highly likely that they won't survive till Christmas. So the initial response would be the urgent response of getting water and food immediately to there.
And how would that happen?
Well, there's great capacity over there. So the charities that we work with, we work in partnership with people on the ground. So Caritas Australia works with Caritas Ethiopia, and many of the other charities have their own people on the ground. And so there's a very efficient way of getting aid to these people.
How have you noticed in your time with Caritas giving change? So from countries, but also from individuals. We've had the federal budget this week, and Australia's foreign aid budget did go up slightly, $1.4 billion increase over 4 years, but we're still not a very generous country when it comes to foreign aid. And I wonder whether over the pandemic people have become a little less generous because times are tough. How have you noticed giving evolve?
I think it's still really encouraging. You know, I think the Australian population in general, when they understand that there is a need there, they do respond. You know, we are a generous people, so there is a good response. I think it's trying to get the message out there. You know, we live in a very busy news cycle, and there's always things going on, as there is this morning, unfortunately. So we really need to try and get that cut through, because this is a really important and catastrophic thing that's occurring.
Richard, how do you measure success? You know, you invest in these programs to try to help these people who are in need. How do you measure success?
Well, I think the first one is to ensure that people live. That's the first one, that, you know, the people that we witnessed over in Ethiopia, and I'm sure that Tom has seen over in Somalia, that they survive the next few days, the next few weeks, so that we can get some more sustainable solutions going.
Richard, just briefly tell us about this gift that you've brought in to show us.
Yeah, no, well, just as we were leaving Ethiopia, we were at a community, and a man came over and asked me to see him, and he said, I want you to have this. He said, this is my most prized and valuable possession. It's a seat, and it's also a pillow. It's a little bit uncomfortable. And he said, please take it back to Australia. Thank you for coming and visiting us. Thank you for listening to us. And let it be a constant reminder of your visit.
Yeah. What an amazing gesture.
Yeah.
Richard Landels, the Caritas Director, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.